Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst LaWanna Bradford with the Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am so excited to be here with you today, and I am here to talk a little bit about, I'm just trying to figure out what's going here with my background. It's not popping up, so I apologize for that. Let's see here. I don't know. It's not working today, but that's okay. There we go. Welcome to Business and Financial Raw Talk. I cannot believe this is the last show episode for 2022. This has been an amazing year, some fantastic guests that we've had on this show. And Business and Financial Raw Talk, it's there to kind of push the boundaries and the envelope as it relates to how we are thinking about business and financial concepts. And today, I wanted to come on with an episode to talk about why the economic principles of Kwanzaa matters. We are currently in day 3 of Kwanzaa celebration. And some of you may wonder, what actually is Kwanzaa? And what I'd like to do is sort of dispel some of the myths as to what it is not, and then we'll get into what it is. And Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday. It does not replace Christmas, Hanukkah, or any other religious holidays around this time of the year. It does not replace Christmas. It is not a religious holiday. I want to really emphasize that. It is not a religious holiday. And so many times I hear individuals say, well, I don't celebrate Christmas, I celebrate Kwanzaa. And when I ask them to just define that, they're like, well, one is, for this group of individuals, and this is for those of us who are Black and brown. Kwanzaa is a celebration of heritage, culture, our families, and communities. And it is built on 7 key principles. And these principles, when you sit and reflect on them and dissect them, you realize that these are principles that any culture, any people can embrace and typically do embrace. And the reason why Dr. Maulana Karinga came up with these elements is he felt that it was very important that African Americans, as well as Pan-African and those in the African diaspora, really hone in and focus on those. Kwanzaa stands for first fruits. So those first fruits, those elements that help us to grow and expand as individuals first, as families second, and as a community third. And I want to focus on 2 of the key principles, but I just want to go over the 7. So we have umoja, which stands for unity. And we all know the importance of us when we're united, right? United, we succeed. Divided, we fall. We've heard that time and time again. So unity is very important as we are moving forward. Kuju Kajalia is self-determination. Ujima, which we're going to go over today, deals with collective work. And why is that important? So this is why we're talking about why the principles of Kwanzaa matters as it relates to business and finance. So we're going to go into Ujima. Then we're going to talk about Ujama, which is cooperative economics, and what that means to African Americans, Pan Africans, but then those beyond that, right? Whether you identify with being African American or Pan African or a part of the African diaspora or not, ask yourself as you listen to these two principles, how do they relate to you, whether it's in your business that you have, if you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, or how it may relate to you in your personal life, how you manage your finances, how you help to strengthen your family so that they have the sustainability that they need to move forward. How do you build legacy? And that's what we're going to break down today. Nia is the sixth principle, is the fifth principle rather, and it talks about purpose. And we all know how important it is for us to have purpose and vision and clarity, that line of sight as we're moving forward in our lives, in our business, in our families, within our communities. Kuumba refers to creativity and that innovation. It's a way of us tapping into our higher faculties and looking at ways that we can not only do better, believe better, but leave the world in a better state than it was when we inherited it. And we hear that over and over again, whether it's dealing with lowering the emissions, dealing with preserving our oceans, what it means to create sustainability within our community, tapping in those innovative solutions that will ensure that there is a tomorrow for our children and that the tomorrow that they inherit is better than what we left behind. And then the last and final principle is Imani, which is faith. And it's faith in God. Realizing that there is a supreme being that is higher than ourselves, that has created us in such a form of excellence that we're able to tap into that divine genius and be not only the change that we are saying we want to be in the world, but that we become this transformative force, that we become the change that the world sees. So that in a nutshell is what Kwanzaa represents. It represents the first fruits. When we think about from a spiritual standpoint of bringing your first fruits, it's like bringing your best forward. So as we're talking about the two business principles of Ujima and Ujama, I want you to think about how are you showing up? How are you bringing your best forward when it comes to building and maintaining a collective cooperative working environment? How are you building upon collective economics so that you improve yourself, your family, and the community? Because it first starts with you. And I truly believe when you change yourself and you're able to influence another and improve their perspective and their mindset and how they move forward, you've actually influenced and changed the next generation. So that's pretty exciting. So again, for those of you who are joining us, thank you for joining us for our last episode of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no holds barred forum for leaders and innovators. And we are talking about why the economic principles of Kwanzaa matters. And today, what are we faced with? I mean, what are we inundated with on the news? COVID-19, it's rising again, right? We're getting tired. We're getting very warned with this and wondering how do we, again, protect and insulate ourselves from these environmental and biological threats against us, against our being. Think about what's happening with the economy. Some classify it as predatory economics and what that means to you and your family and your household, how it's costing even more to do what you did a year ago, whether it's food, whether it's gas, your basic necessities. It's even more challenging today to qualify for a home because of not only the rising prices of homes when you're thinking about your first time home buyer, but your interest rates, right? So the cost to get what you were able to get a year ago is even more exorbitant. When we're thinking about the housing environment, right? The housing kind of crisis that's going on. And let's say you wanted to make improvements on your home and you're looking at pulling out, harvesting that equity. it's even more costly to do that, again, because you have higher interest rates. But we also have those that we tend not to think about, especially those of us who have a roof over our head, and that's the homeless population and the increasing homeless population. And what does that do? How does it create a perhaps burden on society? And the question is, what is society doing to show up for them, to help them transition back to a life where they can have sustainability, so they can have the basic necessities of food, of shelter, of safety, of security? What are we doing as a community to take care of those who are in the most dire situations? And we're thinking about, when we talk about our homeless population, I want you to put children in that, because when you have homelessness, you may have single families, single parents, you may have families, but there's typically children in that situation, in that conversation. And we need to think about that. We need to think about, economically, what are we doing? How are we showing up for them so that there is hope for tomorrow? So Kwanzaa, when we're thinking about the first fruits, it's also, I want to pause for a minute, and I want to talk about symbolically for Hanukkah, we have the menorah, the 7 candles. And for Kwanzaa, we have the kanara. And the 3 candles, the red, symbolizes the struggle and the blood that was shed. So it's a reminder of the heritage of those who came before us, of the work that they did so that we could have the day that we are enjoying today, and a hope for a better tomorrow for those that are following behind us. The green represents the hope. It represents the promise. And that's the 3 candles. And then the black candle in the center represents the people. Again, you're African American, you're Pan-African, you're African diaspora. Before I go any further, I want to just pause for a minute. And my system, I apologize, is just acting a little wonky today. I want to show a little video clip, and then we'll get right back into the elements of Kwanzaa, the economic principles of Kwanzaa.
Girl, you're so fine, make me wanna spend my time. I wanna feel your body right next to mine. Hold you tight, deep in the night, next to you, and it feels so right. Skin so soft, oh so sweet. From your crown, way down to your feet. Eyes so deep, hair so long. If this ain't right, I'd rather be wrong. All I wanna do, spend some time.
So again, we're back here talking about the economic principles of Kwanzaa. We are in day 3 of Kwanzaa. And I was talking about the challenges that the world is dealing with right now. We stopped at homelessness. Now let's talk about here in America, just the displacement of individuals in the workforce. Companies are still laying off. So that creates more insecurity. With all of these ills that are happening, that increases the suffering. The mental health, right, is now challenged even more. We have environmental degradation, tongue-tied today, degradation that is happening as well. So again, when you're thinking about all of these elements put together, there is a cost to it. It comes with a price, and it comes with a price to us as individuals, us as a family, us as a community, a nation, and ultimately the world. And when I was reflecting on just coming on today and talking a little bit about Kwanzaa, I was thinking about the United Nations and some of their strategic visions for what they have as far as building sustainability. And a lot of these same principles that are in Kwanzaa are woven into that very fabric. When you think about the different organizations out there, community-based organizations, many of these principles, they're called something different, but they are the same thing. So I think we as humanity realize the importance of being united, being self-determined, being able to vocalize our needs, being self-aware, having that collective work, and being responsible for creating, sustaining, and maintaining our communities, having the strength of coming together with cooperative economics, being clear, having that clear focus and vision of where we want to go, ensuring that we are tapping into that higher thinking and launching innovative practices and means so that we're able to do more and leave a better world behind. And finally, we want to make sure that we are in the people that are faith-based, right? Faith is action. It's having that belief, it's having that hope. It's being so wedded to that vision that you are willing to not only have the intention, but the commitment to do what it takes to ensure that it will ultimately manifest. That's basically faith. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. And when we're thinking about Kwanzaa, I like to say it looks at the R's. It looks at us remembering, right? Remembering our heritage, remembering from where we came. And this is relevant with any people, right? Where'd you come from? What's the history? What are the lessons that you can learn from those who came before you? Recognizing and remembering the shoulders of greatness that you stand on. It walks us through a reflection. So once you remember, now you can reflect, well, what does this mean to me? How does it impress upon me? How am I showing up? How am I better because they were, right? And then when we're thinking about reaffirming, so what is that promise that we're making to ourselves, that we are reaffirming that vision, and we're making sure that we are sharing this narrative, sharing this hope, sharing this promise with those around us, with our family. It helps us to then recommit, right? We're saying, okay, I remember, I reflect, I reaffirm, and now I'm going to recommit. I'm not going to drop the mantle. I'm going to continue. I'm going to carry that baton until it's time to pass it to the next generation. Through the focus on these Kwanzaa principles, what we're able to do is to make the good and the right possible. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone. It truly becomes a message of hope, a message of promise, a message of inspiration. So for those of you that are watching, yes, it is, again, rooted in African American people, Pan-African communities, those in the African diaspora. It does touch us in a very unique way because it was designed to create this very important, crucial message that was needed for our communities. But today, it has wide application. So if you're looking and saying, oh, that's a Black thing, okay, it may have its roots in celebrating who we are, celebrating our heritage, making sure that our stories are not whitewashed and omitted, making sure that our narrative, our oral history is being translated and communicated so that there is pride in who you are. And that, I think any family has that, right? So if you're listening to this, and let's talk about these economic principles, starting with Ujima. Where do you, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, stand with collective work? Is it all about you? Are you looking at how you can be part of a collective whole, and where you're going to take responsibility in building and maintaining? One of the things I remember is during the height of COVID, Facebook was giving away grants. And this particular grant that it was giving away, these grants were for your African American communities. But one of the questions that they asked in the application is, what are you doing? What is your business doing to give back to the community? What is it doing? How is it that? How does it have a community impact? And so I want to challenge those of you who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business owners. What are you doing to give back? How are you being part of the bigger whole, the bigger equation that is going to shift the playing field for the community in which you live and operate? How are you taking your position of influence and making a greater impact, creating opportunities, creating education and awareness? And I apologize because I'm in another studio and the phone is ringing. So we're going to just keep letting that ring. And I'm going to just go to a commercial right now while that continues to ring. Here we go. Okay, I am back again. This has been one of those amazing shows, and that's what happens when you go live. You just have to go with the flow and not get too flustered about it. So I am on holiday and I'm not in my normal office, and it just happens. But we are here talking about the principles of Kwanzaa. And when we're talking about Ujima and that collective work, again, your question for you as a solopreneur, as that business owner, as that entrepreneur, what place do you have in this bigger wheel of life? What is your role? What is your focus? How are you contributing in a way that creates legacy, that creates opportunity, that helps to build and maintain sustainability, where you're saying, I'm not only going to pick up this mantle of responsibility, but I'm going to also ensure that I'm accountable to giving the quality service and products that I say that I'm going to do. I want us also now to go to Ujama, which is cooperative economics. And when we were thinking about the whole cycle of commerce, what role do you play? The reason why this is so important, and we've heard many times that in many communities, the dollar will cycle 7 times before leaving. But within the African American communities, we don't have that amount of rotation, if you will, occurring. The question is, why not? What can we do? Because the more a dollar rotates, the longer that it rotates within a community, the greater opportunity there is to improve itself, to create wealth, to create opportunities. But if it cycles once or twice and then it goes into another community, then that's a problem. And some people may think, well, wait a minute, are you saying that there should be a division between communities? I'm saying there is a division in communities. This is a real world. Well, whether we're talking about redlining, redistricting, how things are zoned. From everything from your lending to your voting has these types of implications. So again, when we're thinking about Ujama and cooperative economics, how are we coming together to promote not only the opportunity, but to promote the equity that we need in order to have the profitability for our community? Because when you are stronger, then your families become stronger, then your community becomes stronger. Now you're showing up on the world stage that much stronger. Now collectively, imagine if you have everyone with equal strengths, with equal contributions, bringing these ideas, these innovations to the table, these solutions to the table. Now everything that the UN is saying, oh, we'd like to see happen, especially when it comes to sustainable communities, can become a reality. But the change first starts within and then magnifies outside of us. I sometimes think about how much richer we as a nation, as a world could be when we can come together and truly transform. When we can come together with this collective consciousness that says, you know what, we can not only be better, we can, now that we know better, we can be better, we can do better. And through that, now we can build that legacy that we can look back on and be proud of. We can build that legacy that our children's children are looking back and saying, thank you for doing the right thing. Thank you for making the right decisions. Thank you for uniting, for being self-determined, for working together collectively, having that responsibility in building sustainable communities. Thank you for having the mindset of building a cooperative economics where there is equity and profitability and a shared exchange for all. Thank you for having clear line of sight and purpose. Thank you for being innovative and tapping into your higher faculties and bringing the creativity and innovation to the table. Thank you for being a people of faith and not just being a people of action, but doers and seekers of truth, of peace, of hope, and of light. So with that, I want to just thank you for joining me again for this special final episode of Business and Financial Raw Talk, Why the Economics Principles of Kwanzaa Matter. I am so looking forward to coming back next week. It's next year, which is 2023. With some other great shows. There is going to be an announcement that I'll be making in January. Right now, we're working out some details, some final details. So I'm real excited about being able to announce that. And I also want to just encourage any of you that are interested, if you have a business, if you're a financial expert, if you have new strategies, challenging existing strategies as it relates to how we do business, how we make money, and you want to be a guest on Business and Financial Raw Talk, we would love to have a conversation with you and see if we can have a win-win and bring you here on the show. All you have to do is send an email with Raw Talk in the subject line, to LaWanna at BradfordGroupMTG.com. And it's running below, LaWanna at BradfordGroupMTG.com. And one of our administrators will get back to you with an application, and we can see about creating a show that is central to your platform, your message, your subject matter expertise. I truly believe that when women are able to expand their awareness, knowledge, and application as it relates to business and finance, that, I believe, is the critical tie to creating those sustainable, healthy communities that we are seeking to build. It is so important that we begin to show up at the table, that we change the narrative, because we hear over and over again that women would rather talk about anything else than finance. They'd rather talk about anything else other than business. Well, this show is about changing that. It's about bringing men and women, experts from all walks of life and from different countries, to give us that unique perspective on what we can do to help improve our businesses so that we can have the impact and the influence that we need and ultimately create the income that we want, which when we have the income that we want, we can improve our lifestyles. We can be an even greater contributor to the world, right? Because it does take money. It does take money to do some major things. I heard one person saying, "Gosh, I wish I could, build an orphanage in Africa." Well, you can. I know someone who did so. I know someone who built an African school. I know someone who is building a technology incubator or several within Africa. You can do it, but sometimes it requires that cooperative economics. Sometimes it requires that collective work of Ujima and the collective economics of Ojama in order to make our dreams a reality. So again, I want you to just reflect on these amazing principles of Kwanzaa and realize that all 7 apply to each and every one of us. And again, it's not a religious holiday. It's not taking away from Santa, Christmas, but it is a way for us to say, what are we doing as individuals to be a part of the solution, to be a part of the equation that is going to make life better and sustainable for the next generation. So it truly is a message of hope. And I want to thank you again so much for being a part of Business and Financial Raw Talk in 2022. And I want to sign off with the video for my company, the Bradford Group, where we do commercial and investment mortgages. Please visit us on our website, and we'd love to just have a conversation with you, letting you know about what's happening in the world today, how it may impact you, what you can do to, again, leverage your financial position through investment real estate, through commercial real estate. Until next year, I'm LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. Thank you again so much for being a part of Business and Financial Raw Talk.